Fidel Castro and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Fidel Castro orchestrated the Cuban Revolution, then became the political leader who transformed Cuba into a communist state. Fidel Castro was born on August 13, 1926, in Bahrain, Cuba. Castro went to law school at the University of Havana to study law. At the university, Castro was exposed to different ideologies like fascism and communism, which were widely discussed. Fulgencio Batista was a former sergeant who was about to lose an election for president, then overthrew the government and made himself dictator. This event would lead to the Cuban Revolution and give Castro a chance to prove himself as a leader. The revolution began in 1542, with the Batista regime on one end and Castro's rebels on the other. On July 26, 1953, Castro needed weapons for the revolution, so he attacked the Moncada barracks with 138 men. Castro's attempt to take the barracks failed immensely, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for it, but only had to serve 2. After Castro got out of prison, he joined the new 26th of July movement and planned the next step in the revolution. Che Guevara was a commander and used guerrilla warfare to overthrow Batista's regime. In 1959, Batista realized that Castro's victory was inevitable, so he fled Cuba. This gave the victory of the revolution to the rebels. On January 2nd, Cienfuegos and Guevara entered Havana and disarmed the remaining military installations. Raul Castro and Che Guevara were put in charge of organizing squads to bring to trial and execute Batista-era war criminals under the old regime. Castro decided to make Cuba communist, making Cuba the only country in the Western Hemisphere communist. This triggered the Bay of Pigs, which was a failed military invasion of Cuba undertaken by a CIA-financed and trained group of Cuban refugees on April 17, 1961. The Bay of Pigs then triggered the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a 13-day confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union in October of 1962. After the Bay of Pigs, Castro asked for aid from Nikita Khrushchev of the Soviet Union. Nikita Khrushchev was a politician who led the Soviet Union during the height of the Civil War. Nikita Khrushchev seized the opportunity to have missiles so close to the United States. He then sent missiles and materials to build launch pads into Cuba. Castro thought this was necessary to deter the U.S. from invading Cuba. John F. Kennedy was the president during this crisis and made all the difficult decisions. Many Americans were terrified knowing that there were missiles in the backyard of America. Many Americans started building fallout shelters in case a nuclear war broke out to protect themselves. A fallout shelter is an enclosed space specially designed to protect occupants from radioactive debris or fallout resulting from a nuclear explosion. Cuba's missiles would have been able to nuke anywhere in the United States. The United States established a blockade to prevent further missiles from entering Cuba. October 27th, a United States U-2 reconnaissance jet was shot down. Many people thought this would lead to war. Instead, Kennedy ignored it, and the missile crisis would be over. October 28th, Khrushchev issued a public statement that Soviet missiles would be dismantled and removed from Cuba. With the crisis avoided, the naval blockade would last until November 20, 1962.